Think about what this means. We go to chemistry and say, get out your textbook and your calculating machine, sharpen your pencil and your wit, fill your head with the formula, and your flask with methane and ammonia, and hydrogen and carbon dioxide, and all the other gases that a primeval non-living planet can be expected to have. Cook them all up together. Pass stroke of lightning through your stimulated atmosphere, and stroke of inspiration through your brain. Bring all your clever chemist method to bear, and give us your best chemistry estimate of the possibility that a typical planet will spontaneously generate self-replicating molecules. Or, to put it another way, how long do we have to wait before random chemical events on the planet, random chemical jostling of atom and molecule, result in a self-replicating molecule? Chemists don't know the answer to this question. Most modern chemists would probably say we would have to wait a long time by the standard of the human lifetime, but perhaps not all that long by the standard of cosmological time. The fossil story of us suggests that we have about a billion years, 1 aeon, to use a convenient modern definition, to play with, for this is roughly the time that elapsed between the origin of us about 4.5 billion years ago, at the era of the first fossil organism. But the point of our number of planets argue is that even if the chemist says that we'd have to wait for a miracle, have to wait a billion years, far longer than the universe has existed, you can still accept the event with equanimity. There are probably more than a billion available planets in the universe, if each of them lasts as long as us. That give us about a billion planet years to play with. This will do nicely. A miracle is translated into practical politics by a multiplication sum. There is a concealed assumption in this argument. Well, actually, there are lots, but there one in particular that I want to talk about. That's that one life, i.e., replicator and cumulative selection, originate at all in all rays advance to the point where each creature evolve enough intelligence to speculate about their origins. And this is not so. Our estimate of the amount of luck that we are allowed to postulate must be reduced accordingly. To be more precise, the maximum odds against the origin of life on any one planet that our theories are allowed to postulate is the number of available planets in the universe divided by the odds that life, once started, will involve sufficient intelligence to speculate about its own origin. It may seem a little strange that sufficient intelligence to speculate about its own origin is relevant available. To understand why it's considered an alternative assumption, suppose that the origin of life was quite a probable event, but the subsequent evolution of intelligence was exceedingly improbable, demanding a huge stroke of luck. Suppose the origin of intelligence is so improbable that it had happened on only one planet in the universe, even though life had started on many planets. Then, since you know you are intelligent enough to discuss the question, you know that the Earth must be that one planet. Now suppose that the origin of life and the origin of intelligence, given the life is there, are both highly improbable events. Then the probability of any one planet, such as us, enjoying both stroke of luck is the product of the two low probability, and this is a far smaller probability. It's as though, in our theory of how we came to exist, you are allowed to postulate a certain relation of log. This relation has at its upper limits the number of eligible planets in the universe. Given our relation of log, we can then spend as a limited commodity over the course of our exploration of our own existence. If we use up almost all our ration of log in our theory of how life gets started on a planet in the first place, then you are allowed to postulate very little more log in subsequent part of our theory, in, say, the cumulative evolution of brain and intelligence. If we don't use up all our ration of log in our theory of the origin of life, we have some left over to spend on our theory of subsequent evolution after cumulative selection has got going. If we want to use up most of our ration of log in our theory of the origin of the intelligence, then we haven't much left over to spend on our theory of the origin of life. We must come up with a theory that makes the origin of life almost inevitable. Alternatively, if we don't need our whole log ration for these two stages of our theory, we can, in effect, use the surface to postulate life elsewhere in the universe. My personal feeling is that once cumulative selection has got itself properly started, we need to postulate only a relatively small amount of log in the subsequent evolution of life and intelligence. Cumulative selection, once it has begun, seems to me powerful enough to make the evolution of intelligence probable. If not inevitable, this means that you can, if you want to, spend virtually our entire ration of first level log in one big throw in our theory of the origin of life on our planet. Therefore, we have at our disposal, if we want to use it, order of it 1 in 100 billion as an upper limit, or 1 in however many available planets we think there are to spend in our theory of the origin of life. This is the maximum amount of log you are allowed to postulate in our theory. Suppose you want to suggest, for instance, that life began when both DNA and its protein-based replication machinery spontaneously chanced to come into existence. We can allow ourselves the luxury of such an extravagant theory, provided the odds against this coincidence occurring on a planet do not exceed 100 billion to 1. This allowance may seem large. It's probably ample to accommodate the spontaneously arising of DNA or RNA, but it's nowhere near enough to enable us to do without cumulative selection altogether. The odds against assembling a well-designed body that flies as well as a swift, or swims as well as a dolphin, or sees as well as a falcon in a single blow of log, single-step selection, stupendously greater than the number of atoms in the universe, let alone the number of planets. No, it's certain that you are going to need a hefty measure of cumulative selection in our explanation of life. But although you are entitled in our theory of origin of life to spend a maximum ration of log mounting, perhaps to odds of 100 billion to 1 against, my hunch is that you aren't going to need more than a small fraction of that ratio. The origin of life on a planet can be very improbable event, indeed by our everyday standard, or indeed by the standards of the chemistry laboratory still be sufficiently probable to have occurred, not just once, but many times, all over the universe. You can regard the statistical argument about number of planets as an argument of last resort. At the end of the chapter, I shall make a paradoxical point. The theory you are looking for may actually need to seem improbable, even miraculous, to our subjective in judgment, because of the way our subjective judgment has been made. Nevertheless, it is still sensible for us to begin by seeking the theory of the origin of life with the least degree of improbability. If the theory of that DNA and its copying machinery grows spontaneously is so improbable that it is obliged us to assume that life is very rare in the universe and may even be unique to us. Our first resort is to try to find a more probable theory. So, can you come up with any speculation about relatively probable ways in which cumulative selection might have got its start? The word speculate has a pejorative overtone, but these are quite uncalled for here. We can hope for nothing more than speculation, and the events are talking about took place 4 billion years ago and took place, moreover, in a world that must have been radically different from the which we know today. For instance, there almost certainly was no free oxygen in the atmosphere. Though the chemistry of the world may have changed, the law of chemistry has not changed. That's why they are called laws. And modern chemistry know enough about those laws to make some very informed speculation. Speculation that we have to pass rigorous test of plausibility imposed by the laws. You can't just speculate widely and irresponsibly, allowing your imagination to run riot in the manner of such unsatisfying space fiction pancreas as hyperdrivers, time warps, and infinite improbability drivers. Of all possible speculation about the origin of life must run foul of the law of chemistry and can't route. Even if we make full use of our statistical fallback argument about number of planets, careful selective speculation of therefore constructive exercise. But you do have to be a chemist to do it. I am a biologist, not a chemist, and I must rely on chemists to get their sunlight. Different chemists prefer different theories, and there is no shortage of theories. I could attempt to lay all these theories before you impartially. That would be the proper thing to do in a student textbook. This is a student textbook. The basic idea of the blind watchmaker is that we don't need a postulate designer in order to understand life or anything else in the universe. We are here concerned with the kind of a solution that must be found, because the kind of problem you are faced with. I think that this is best explained not by looking at lots of particular theory, but by looking at one as an example of how the basic problem, how cumulative selection got its start, might be solved.